This is a film study preview of the Ravens-Lions matchup on Monday Night Football, obviously the last one that I'll be able to produce before kickoff. I'm going to focus on two players that are at the height of their profession on each side of the ball, and that's Marlon Humphrey, the hybrid outside corner / nickel for the Ravens, and Amon-Ra St. Brown's, an all-pro, perennial all-pro at this point, with a high efficiency level and an ability to make plays in high-pressure situations, whether that's on third down or in the red zone. Two of my favorite guys to watch film of. I'll try to stagger the film to display here and give you an idea of when and where I think these guys are going to match up, and also how I think the Lions at times might try to avoid Humphrey altogether and have St. Brown line up on the outside. Contrary to popular belief, St. Brown does not spend all of his time lined up as a slot wide receiver. This is a dime alignment for the Ravens last year, and this is Khalil Shakir running kind of an over concept on third down, and Marlon Humphrey with a great PD. You can see Josh Allen is looking right at Shakir, and it's a man concept down here, basically to try to clear out the middle of the field, very similar to what I think you're going to get from the Lions at times on these critical third downs. Marlon he has an ability to make the right play at the right time, whether it's a pass breakup, an interception, a forced fumble. He's been clutch for the Ravens since he's been healthy in 2024 and 2025. It's a great opportunity, I think, for Humphrey to make a statement against one of the best receivers in the NFL. And conversely, if St. Brown goes out there and goes 9 for 10 or 9 for 11 like he did last week against the Bears, then it just really heightens or elevates his standing across the national football landscape. Marlon's just got that unique ability to understand what's needed on a particular coverage scheme or a particular play. Now, this is not a third down, but it's a somewhat similar route to the one that I just showed Marlon successfully defending against the Bills. It's kind of a shake slant. This is a late second quarter drive, week 2 against the Bears. Like I said, St. Brown goes like 9 for 11 targets. Actually, I think it's really 9 for 10. But he's efficient, clean, smooth with everything. I wonder if Marlon might try to disrupt his flow, if you will, at the line of scrimmage, as opposed to allowing him so many free releases. But the Lions have a control factor. They like to put St. Brown or other wide receivers in motion. They're not the only team that does that. And when you do so, you can eliminate the ability or the option for the defense to make contact with them at all. Like I said, we'll try to alternate some of the film here, and Marlon will be spot shadowed in yellow. This is 2024 film. Some of the ways that he impacted the game really changed the Ravens season at times. This is a Week 13 loss on a third down against the Eagles, obviously. They're rotating, and as a Lions fan, if you're unfamiliar with the Ravens defense, you're going to get this type of stuff a lot. The nickel DB blitzing, and then a rotation by the safeties. In this case, Ardarius Washington, the blue line, spinning down to essentially take Marlon's place, and then Kyle Hamilton lined up at the line of scrimmage, dropping to the center field position. It's really a 3 deep, 3 under coverage. From the perspective of Marlon, he's being engaged or taken on by the tight end, if you will, and Marlon is able to spin out of here and still make the tackle on Jalen Hurts. Now, Roquan Smith is involved as well. This is what I refer to as a 3 deep, 3 under. People have different names: zone blitz, fire zone. The Ravens may want to major in this at times on third downs to get pressure on Jared Goff. But the drawback to that potentially is that Goff likes to get rid of the ball quickly, and St. Brown is super smart at replacing the blitzer. Marlon played inside linebacker in high school, for those of you that don't know. That's courtesy of Stacy in our Ravens Discord, who continues to talk about it. And it shows up on plays like this, if you ask me. These two inside linebackers are lined up in what's called a mug alignment. Harrison, the third inside linebacker, is dropping out all the way to the other side of the field. So the Ravens do all this crazy stuff oftentimes on third down. And then here comes Marlon off the edge, right side of the screen for us. Engaged by the tight end, like I said. And then check out his ability to spin out of this and still get involved in the play. Basically redirect despite being engaged by a bigger, stronger tight end. He just had a fantastic 2024. He was an all-pro as a nickel, but really he spent a lot of time as an outside corner as well. This is a clutch play, I think, in Week 16. It's in the fourth quarter. The Ravens are up 24-17 against the Steelers. This is, of course, his pick 6, where he shows the Steelers offense the ball. It's a fantastic job by David Ojabo of holding the tight end, if you will, and then bursting upfield to go get the quarterback on this play-action boot by Russell Wilson. Marlon's also spectacular at keeping his eyes focused on the football, but also having some awareness of the route. And so we're talking about this tight end. Watch when the tight end releases is precisely when Marlon opens his left hip and his feet and goes to get the football. And that's a poor throw by Russell Wilson. Obviously, I think it's impacted, however, by the fact that Ojabo had just decleated him. And yes, Marlon does kind of show the football to the Steelers tight end, which really surprised me. But he's super excited in the game. It made it 31-17, basically clinched the division for the Ravens, a division that I don't think they win were it not for Marlon Humphrey's clutch plays. As a Lions fan, you may not be aware of it. Here's two of them. This is fourth quarter, week 5 against the Bengals. A little over 3 minutes remaining. Bengals have a 3-point lead. This is about as clutch a play as you'll find against a high-quality receiver like Ja'Marr Chase. It's an in cut that Chase had actually caught 2 catches or had been targeted twice on before, and you can see this is what Marlon does to people, either as an outside receiver or as a nickel DB. Get hands on you, disrupt your route. Will he be able to do that to St. Brown? St. Brown is such a tactician. He's great at changing directions. Super smart ability to adjust. Was it not for that interceptions, the Ravens probably don't win that game. Let's do it this way. It's at minimum going to be 41-35, and you have the ball somewhere around 1:45 or 2 minutes remaining, depending on how the Bengals get that accomplished. As it stands, we go down and tie the game 38 all, and then win it in overtime. By the way, Marlon also forced a critical fumble against the Bengals in our rematch in Baltimore later on in the year. We're losing 21-7. Cincinnati has the football, and Marlon forces a fumble that changes the game, allows us to come back and win that one 35-34. Look, Lamar was the MVP of the league in my opinion. Josh Allen got the award, but I think Lamar, had a better season statistically. But argue that if you want. If Lamar isn't your MVP, he's definitely your 1B choice. However, Marlon might have been the team MVP from the standpoint of he made so many plays like these that really changed the dynamic of a game that we were struggling in, or like the Bengals example I showed you previously, possibly going to lose. This is second quarter. The Bucs offense is really giving us trouble down there in Tampa Bay. It's 10-7, and initially on this second down play, Baker Mayfield's going to look to the bottom side of our screen. Marlon sees it. And this is where Marlon's awareness and just intelligence during the play comes to light. Since he sees Mayfield look to his side initially and then go to his second read on the other side of the field, watch what Marlon does here. Now, it doesn't work out. He tries to basically knock the tight end out of bounds to take him away as an eligible receiver. It doesn't work, right? Because 88, Cade Otton actually escapes. Mayfield has moved off of that second read, or he's in the process of doing so. And so Marlon, failed in that effort, but he was able to work his way back into the play. This is a game-changing moment. These were 2 season-changing moments, in fact. The interception against Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Burrow on the road in Week 5, and then this one on the road against Tampa Bay. It could have been 17-7. Instead, we get the football. We go up 14-10, and then 17-10 at the half. Oh, by the way, on the very next Tampa Bay possession, Marlon got an interception as well. Eventually, by the next time Tampa Bay scores, it's 34-10, and when they score in the fourth quarter. My point is, were it not for Marlon Humphrey showing up at the ball pretty much every time we needed him, the Ravens may not win the division last year and probably have to fight to get a wild card. He was that good in 2024. Let's move this over and talk about one of the things about St. Brown. Besides he's a machine on third down, okay? People call him a slot merchant, whatever they want to call him. He's borderline unstoppable on third downs. That'll be a tremendous matchup when he's in the slot. This is going to focus on his red zone capability. He operates on a different level with Goff, and I've got multiple wins to show you to prove that point. As a Ravens fan, you may be somewhat surprised that a guy of that stature is able to get so many wins down here in the red zone in critical situations. This is last week. He's kind of selling the fade, if you will, to the right side against Tyreek Stevenson, and then he's going to bring this route back down. We call it a fade out. You can have different names for it if you want, but the point is there's a lot of separation here between him and Stevenson, and Goff knows exactly where he's going with the football in a critical moment. It's a huge win, and it's one that I've seen St. Brown recreate multiple times. Basically come back to the ball, cut the angle. He's got a brilliant ability to win in tight space. And by the way, this is from an outside alignment. This one is not, also from last week against the Bears. In the slot, certainly a design play to get St. Brown open. It's a 1st and 10, so you can kind of take that shot, if you will. Khalif Raymond is running an inside release, and then essentially he's going to pick or shield or try to screen that nickel DB. This will be Marlon if he's matched up with St. Brown when he's in the slot. Quick release by Goff and a beautiful St. Brown catches it once. He catches it instantly, in fact. It almost kind of reminds me of like a 99 level player on Madden or NCAA. You know, I haven't played those in years because I don't have a console at this point, but the reality is he catches it immediately. The ball just kind of sticks to his hands like it would in a video game situation. This touchdown occurred in the second half. They're in an onslaught for Jared Goff. He had 5 total touchdown passes against Chicago, 3 of which went to St. Brown. St. Brown was 9 of 11 catches to targets. We're going to move backwards a little bit to some other red zone stuff from 2024, and we'll culminate with one of the best red zone plays that I've ever seen, at least in the time that I've tried to cover the NFL. He's an outside receiver here, so the reality is he may be covered by Wiggins in this situation, and Marlon would possibly be up here against Jameson Williams, and that's the point, I think, of Marlon's versatility, number one. Number two, the versatility that St. Brown offers. He can line up anywhere in the slot, in the backfield, in fact, or outside and be effective. Essentially the same route that we're talking about from the Bears game last week. You can see Goff is looking in that direction, selling the fade, and then bringing this back. Now the ball arrives here maybe a split second sooner than St. Brown is expecting. I mean, as soon as he turns, it's on him. This one is ruled a touchdown upon review. Maybe not as clean a catch, but like I said, I think it's because the ball was on top of him a little bit sooner than he perhaps expected. I've got 2 more plays here for St. Brown in the red zone. I feel like I have to show this one in order to set up his 4th down touchdown against the Packers in 2024. This is what I would call a China in or a whip route. People have different names for it. He had motioned across here to essentially get the switch and now go up against the outside corner for Arizona. He's going to run, like I said, a China in or whip route, whatever you want to call it. And the route design, I think, is just to clear out this space that St. Brown will run onto at the time that the ball arrives. Jameson Williams is running the drag under concept. Laporta also clearing out. And then Gibbs is running a little zig route, running back choice, whatever you want to refer to it as, to basically clear out that space. St. Brown making it look like he's going to go to the pylon. And then this is one of the things that I think him and Goff are brilliant at. I'm not pretending that this is a read by Goff or St. Brown. I think it's a predetermined route because of the way that these 3 routes are clearing out the space that St. Brown will run onto. Marlon or whatever corner matches up with him will be under tremendous stress and conflict because of St. Brown's ability to change directions. Look, if you don't know, he's on a statistically really unbelievable track. He had an 81.6 catch percentage rate in 2024. He's got the second most, coming into the season, he's got the second most catches all time through 4 games as an NFL wide receiver. Michael Thomas had 470. St. Brown has 430, entering 2025, that is. This is the aforementioned play that I think is one of the most amazing red zone touchdowns plays in general that I've really ever seen. So it's week 6, so it's building off of that route you just saw, the China in. And so what we're talking about is when St. Brown gets up here by going in motion, he's going to make it look like he's coming back to the middle of the field. Recall his route against Arizona. He got somewhere in this area and then put his foot in the ground and came back here. All of the routes had cleared out that space. That's not what's occurring here, however. He's just selling it for a moment. It's a 4th and 3, by the way, guys. I think it's in the second quarter. Goff is obviously looking at St. Brown and only St. Brown. And this catch, I don't know how you defend it. It's an insane play. It's as good a play as I've seen in those types of situations on the road, 4th down. I think they're down 3-0 at this point, but I could be wrong. I'll give you the end zone angle of it. It's going to be difficult for me to not appreciate. Let's say that Humphrey goes out there and holds St. Brown to 2 catches on 7 targets, which I find extremely unlikely. He's just that good of a player. He's going almost akin to a basketball player you know is going to get 20, 25 points. the other way. Let's do it the other way. Let's say St. Brown goes out and gets 9 catches on 11 targets. It'll be difficult for me to reconcile my reaction to that from an individual standpoint because I like both of those guys so much. This one really reminds me of a fight that occurred years ago in the UFC between Paulo Costa and Yoel Romero, two guys that I really enjoyed watching a lot. Huge fan of Romero, and watching those guys go at it and knowing that one of them was going to lose. Goff is looking here all the way. This is exquisite timing for St. Brown to be able to go up and catch this ball. Like I said, catch it once, almost catch it a half a time because the ball just sticks there, unlike really anything else, any other player that I get a chance to watch in the NFL. It's a beautiful route design. Those guys are on the same page. When I say those guys, I mean Goff and St. Brown. I think it's a tremendous challenge for the Ravens defense. They played really well last week, but different dynamic here with Goff, St. Brown, and Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta. All of those guys would start and play for the Browns immediately. Humphrey's got his hands full, in my opinion. He's up to the task because he's just a brilliant football player. I thought he could have been an All-Pro as an outside corner in 2024. They voted him as a slot DB. Now with Wiggins, Awuzie, Alexander, and young TJ Tampa kind of surging as well, he played really, really fantastic, I thought, against the Browns last week. Marlon doesn't have to play outside corner at all. He can in a pinch if injuries were to occur at any point in time during the season or during a game. So perhaps Detroit's offensive staff has looked at it and said, we would rather St. Brown not have to deal with Humphrey because he's physical, because he's so smart, takes away the initial route. We'd rather have him go up against Wiggins or Awuzie or Alexander. And there's another layer to this that I waited to discuss until later on. Perhaps I should have brought it up in my initial preview on Saturday morning. And that's the Ravens system is very similar to Seattle's in that it intentionally uses a 3-corner system. I don't mean 3 corners on the field at the same time. Of course, they'll have 3 DBs on the field at the same time, 3 corners, I should say, when the offense, the Lions in this case, is in 11 personnel. It's going to be a 4-2-5 structure, right? Your nickel 4-2-5 with 2 safeties and then 3 DBs. What I mean is an intentional rotation of the DBs such that you, as an offensive play caller, don't know what's coming. And the Ravens have that capability if Wiggins is completely healthy. If you're a Lions fan, you don't know. Wiggins got hurt last week after an interception against the Browns. That he got tackled by a teammate in the end zone during a celebration, I should say, and suffered something, I think, with his hamstring or maybe his back. But Alexander was able to practice, certainly didn't play last week against Cleveland, didn't play well against Buffalo in week 1. He was not healthy. I would have judged him at like 80 to 85% health in that Bills game. Really shouldn't have been out there after 2 practices on the field. So the Ravens do have all those guys dressed and available, Awuzie and TJ Tampa as well. I wonder if you'll see some rotation of the corners by possession and even by snap, such that John Morton is getting a different look than maybe he perceived from a snap-to-snap basis, meaning what corners are on the field, especially in light of which hash the football is on. I think you're talking about a huge difference in the way that Detroit will attack when the ball is on the right hash for them versus the left hash, because the Ravens DBs go right and left. They're corners, they're outside corners and safeties, that is. Wiggins generally to the left with Hamilton, and Starks as the safety generally to the right with either Alexander or Awuzie. Marlon as the nickel would go set to the field, which is where the nickel belongs from a coverage standpoint generally. And I wonder if when the ball is on the left hash, Detroit's not going to be more focused on trying to get the ball into the boundary because Kyle Hamilton wouldn't be as likely to drop down. He's going to be set to the field. He lines up to the left-hand side of the Ravens defense, the right-hand side for Detroit's offense. So he would be set to the field when the ball is on the left hash. Hopefully I said all that in a way that makes sense. My point in bringing it up is St. Brown, to me, I wonder if he'll operate to the boundary when the ball's on the left hash, and he'll operate to the field when the ball is on the right hash, basically to remove him from dealing with Kyle Hamilton. I do expect Detroit to attack the Ravens' will linebackers early and often. That's Teddy Buchanan and Trenton Simpson. I don't think those guys are really fantastic options at all for Baltimore in third down passing situations. So as such, I really wonder if the Ravens, with all their DBs healthy, are going to be in a dime look on third down passing situations. In any case, this is my preview that focuses on Marlon and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I hope that it did justice for you guys for the quality of their play over the course of their whole career, but specifically 2024 and 2025, when both of these guys were all pros, and now having to watch them go against each other. It will be fun, don't get me wrong, but a part of me will hope that neither one of them has a rough game, because I just think so highly of each. In any case, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section, number one. Number two, if you think other Ravens fans or Lions fans as well would enjoy my thoughts and some of the film that I displayed, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.